Thank you for joining us for the second half of Medoscopy with our guest, Dr. Nicholas Anastasio, who's a board-certified physician with Orthopedics and Joint Replacement. Doctor, thanks for joining us this morning.
Morning, thank you.
Now, you specialize in physical medicine and rehabilitation. What does that encompass exactly? What kind of issues do you treat?
So physical medicine and rehabilitation is a quite broad field. Specialists can go into various different fields of medicine. What I've chosen to focus on is non-surgical orthopedics. So I see general orthopedic issues head to toe. And then part of physical medicine and rehab is not only being a muscle condition specialist, but a nerve condition specialist. So I also treat nerve entrapment conditions such as pinched nerve in your spine or carpal tunnel syndrome, conditions like that.
Now, your background includes training at the University of Virginia's Runners Clinic. So your expertise includes running-related injuries, running gait analysis, that sort of thing. Why an interest in running and runners issues?
Certainly. So in orthopedics, we see a fair amount of sports medicine, and I've done quite a bit of that in my career. At University of Virginia, I had a unique experience where we had a specific medical clinic devoted to running-related injuries, where we did some running gait analysis, as you mentioned, and worked with professional, collegiate, and high school running teams. So I've had a lot of exposure to the unique needs of runners, the unique injuries that runners come across. And as a non-surgical specialist, most of those injuries that runners experience are non-surgical orthopedic injuries. So it's a really good fit, and it's a great community of patients, very motivated, very willing to do whatever they need to do to stay on the road, and I really enjoy helping runners do that.
Now, you just mentioned you do the things that are non-surgical, some non-invasive things. What are some examples of conditions you treat?
I treat conditions all over the body, but my primary interest is chronic tendon injury. So when patients have had recurrent tendonitis or bursitis, that often converts into a chronic scar tissue or partial tearing of a tendon. And because I'm an ultrasound specialist, I have some really cutting-edge techniques that allow me to do minimally invasive surgeries essentially on the tendons, help people achieve healing when they've had months or years of an injury that's just nagging and won't get better.
Now, you played varsity football at Brown University. What position did you play?
I played free safety for a couple years. Unfortunately, some back injuries ended my career prematurely. But yes, it was a nice opportunity to go to a good school.
Why the interest in football? Something you always liked?
Yeah, something I always liked, something that was a big part of my family. My father and both my brothers and I all played at the collegiate level, and just something we've always been interested in. You know, it's a great sport, team sport, and something that has just always been a part of my life. And fortunately, it was able to open the doors for me for some opportunities at the collegiate level and to some schools that were academically prestigious, and so it worked out really well.
So you mentioned you had the sort of the back issues. So you did have a few injuries, orthopedic issues, things of that nature. Did that sort of maybe point you in that direction in terms of what you wanted to do in terms of medicine?
Yeah, I really think it did. After injuring my back, I didn't come from a family of doctors or anything like that. I'm actually the first physician in my family. So in college, you're exploring what you want to do with your life, and after my initial injury, working with athletic trainers and physical therapists, I thought, do I want to go to chiropractic school or medical school? And so I started to dive into the industry and eventually settled on medical school and took an interest in orthopedics because of my experience with musculoskeletal injury personally and, with my experience with athletics. So I think that sort of started the ball rolling, and there was more experiences along the way that confirmed that desire. But
so, did you ever have an interest in any other field of medicine, or is this was kind of like this was it for you?
For a while, I was interested in biotechnology. Prior to pursuing medical school, I was obtaining 2 degrees in economics and biology, and had an interest in the cutting-edge technology that can play such a critical role in medicine. I think that's why I like to perform things like ultrasound, like to do minimally invasive procedures that are newer. I think that's exciting to be sort of on the leading edge there with different techniques and treatments that we offer.
It reminds me of a doctor I spoke to once. He said the goal is really to do surgery without surgery. Mm-hmm. So, and That sounds like that's the path that we're on here, right?
Exactly. There are certain cases where patients need surgery, and that's what we need to do. And that's part of my role, triaging those issues, and my surgical partners are then available. But if we can avoid cutting on a patient, that's always better. Recovery is easier, complication rates are less, healthcare expenditure is less. So I really enjoy being able to offer those sort of options for some patients.
Now, when you're not dealing with patients, how do you spend your time? Do you feel that you're getting a good work-life balance?
Yes, we try. I have 2 young sons, so I enjoy spending time with them. I'm very outdoorsy. I have a small boat that I remodeled myself and like to go fishing on. I'm sort of a hands-on DIY type of person. And then I do enjoy cooking as well. I'm a bit of an amateur chef. So between the kids and keeping them fed and then finding some outdoor activities for us to do, that's generally my work-life balance there.
Well, you might want to talk to Dr. Rich a little bit in primary care. He's also a bit of a cook. So,
okay.
So when in our segment, when he wanted to show his interest in cooking, he brought a spatula with him to make his point. So I thought that was pretty cool. In terms of, I guess, what the future holds in terms of your field, we talked about the minimally invasive aspect of things. What do you think, as a practitioner doing what you're doing, how might your field change in the next 20 years, particularly as we hear so much more about AI and all these other different things? Or is, medicine's just going to be medicine no matter what?
That's a good question. I think there are some elements of traditional medicine that will always stick around. There's some tenets, that we learn when we go to medical school, and they hold on to those throughout your career. But the exciting thing about medicine is it's a constantly evolving field. And so as we've touched on earlier, some of those changes that will come will be more and more minimally invasive techniques to treat conditions, injectable techniques to treat conditions. In orthopedics, we don't have a way to regrow cartilage, let's say, in our arthritic joint, but that would be the holy grail that we could someday achieve. If a patient could get an injection or some sort of minimally invasive surgery instead of a total joint replacement or a spinal fusion. We don't have those technologies yet, but I think things will head sort of in that direction. In terms of AI, it's difficult to know. I think that there's an element of the art of medicine that needs the critical thinking and hands-on skills of a physician or nurse practitioner or PA. But we can use AI algorithms to help us create differential diagnoses for patients, or to evaluate imaging studies, or to make decisions on what lab tests to order. And I think that's the direction that it will likely head. But it's such a rapidly evolving thing that we sort of have to see how it goes for now, and then be ready to adapt and adjust along the way.
We'll take a brief break and be back with more Medoscopy.
I'm Dr. Nick Anastasio, and I'm a physical medicine and rehabilitation specialist. I function within the sports medicine department as well as the orthopedic and joint replacement department to provide non-surgical care for patients that have orthopedic needs. Using the various tools that I have in my tool belt with nerve tests and with ultrasound, I can really hone down on what is the root cause of this illness and address that so that we can prevent it from ever coming back again. I have a lot of experience working with running athletes from the high school to the collegiate to the professional level. I'm a runner myself. I'm out there on the roads throughout the week and on the weekends. I understand the needs of runners. I understand the desire to stay on the road and not be told, hey, you just can't run. And I'll be the last doctor to tell you that. I really enjoy working for a hospital like Mercy that has such a focus on providing care to those in need. The most rewarding thing in the world is when a patient comes in and says, thank you, doctor, I've had this issue for 2 or 3 years. I felt like I didn't have any options. And the simple treatments that we did in the office here, non-surgically, gave me my life back.
I'd like to thank our guests, Dr. Jasmine Tour and Dr. Nicholas Anastasio, for their time and their candor. I'm hoping our viewers enjoy the opportunity to learn about you both, and maybe a thing or two they could apply to their daily lives. And thank you all for watching. On behalf of myself, our guests, and the Sisters of Mercy, we wish you good health and humor. Until we gather again, may the road rise up to meet you. So you made it through the credits for Wait Doctor, I Forgot to Ask. This is where we briefly discuss the question each physician wishes their patients would ask, but don't, or the most unusual hand on the doorknob question posed by a patient at the end of their visit. Doctor, what you got for us?
I wish that all my patients would ask, what their other alternative options are. I think a big part of my practice is educating patients about the full breadth of reasonable options for their condition, and then allowing them to, or assisting them to come to a decision that works best for them. I think sometimes in the rush of a clinic, physicians can say, well, you need to do A or B, make a decision, or you absolutely need to do A. And there's a part of medicine where we need to guide patients' decisions, but oftentimes it's really their body, their life, and one option may work a lot better for them or be logistically a lot more feasible. And if it's a reasonable option for their condition, then that works a lot better than the physician just telling them, you have to do this. So I think, it's always good for patients to say, okay, I've heard the offerings you've given me. Are there any other alternatives that are reasonable?
Very good. Thank you, Doctor.